Alright, for this last video, go ahead and join me on page 160. I just want to go over some more example problems. Okay, so let's take a look here at 6 through 9. It says use compatible numbers to estimate the quotient. So again, compatible numbers are just numbers that we can compute easily in our head. Estimate means we're not going to find the exact answer, and quotient is the answer to a division problem. So here on number 6, I want to use compatible numbers, and again, just like yesterday's lesson, I want to focus on those first two numbers, the 1 and the 6, or in this case 16. And then I ask myself, okay, can 2 go into 16 evenly? Well, one way to figure that out is to do your multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So yes, we will land on 16. So I know 2 can go into 16 evenly. So for my compatible number, I'm just going to make this 160 because I know I can do it just like yesterday's lesson and divide the 2 into 16. Which is 8, and I can check that 8 times 2 is indeed 16, and then just add my 0. So my estimate would be about 80. And again, I apologize for my handwriting. Okay, jumping over to number 7, I see at the beginning 50. Now again, I can look at 7 and say, okay, what number is very close to 50 that 7 will go into nice and evenly? If I use my multiples of 7, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49. 49 is very close to 50, and then I add my 0, so I'm changing this 50 into a number that's nice and compatible with 7. 7 will go into 49 evenly, and then I can't forget my 0 though, because it's actually 490. So now I'm just focusing again on the 49. 7 goes into 49 7 times, and then I add my 0 that I ignored. So my answer here would be about 70. So see, compatible numbers aren't anything mysterious. It's just, hey, what do I wish this number was? Because if it was 490, this would be a really easy division problem. Okay, now looking at number 8, 1,421, well, I can see, man, if this was 1,500, this would be a really easy division problem. And so that's what they want us to do for compatible numbers. They want us to look at that 14 and say, hey, that's really close to 15. Change my last two numbers to zeros, just like we would if we were rounding, because remember, we're finding an estimate. And then I focus in on the front. 5 goes into 15 3 times. I've ignored 2 zeros, so now I add 2 zeros to my answer. So again, I come down to the answer line, and I can write in my answer. Oh, there's my pen. I got it way down there. About 300. Again, don't forget, you can pause the video anytime. You can rewind. If you have a question about anything, pause it, raise your hand, ask. Take initiative. Okay, let's look at number 9. Again, we're looking at the first two numbers, 26. Well, if I count by my 8s, 8, 16, 24, well, 24 is pretty close to 26, is it not? Yeah, so I'm just going to say, hey, 24, if it was 2,400, if it had that 24 in front, then it would be much easier for me to divide. Okay, so 8 goes into 24. 8, 16, 24, 3 times. Add my 2 zeros that I ignored originally, about 300. And again, don't forget, how can I check my answer to see if it's reasonable? Yeah, I would multiply, do the opposite. So I would take my quotient, 300, times my divisor, 8, and see if I get back to my dividend. So 8 times 3 would be 24, 2 zeros, yes, I get back to 2,400, which would be a reasonable estimate for 2,600. All right, 10, 11, 12, and 13. This has a little bit different instructions, so make sure you read the directions carefully. It says use compatible numbers, which we did up here, so that's not different, but then to find two estimates that the quotient is between, or that the answer will be between. So this is like we were doing in the last video where we had a low estimate and a high estimate. So it's basically the same process that we were using on 6, 7, 8, and 9, but now we're going to go a high and a low. So again, I focus on the first two numbers, in this case 53 divided by 6. So if I'm counting by my sixes, I know I can count 6, 12, 18, but I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. I know 6 times 9 is 54, and is 54 less than 53 or more than 53? Yeah, it's more than 53, 54 would be. So that's going to be my high estimate, 5,400 divided by 6. And my low estimate, well, I'm going to take 6 away from 54 to get the number right before, which would be 6 times 8, because I used 6 times 9 to get 54, so 6 times 8. The closest number would be 4,800, would be my low estimate for my compatible numbers. Okay, so again, really I'm just using the multiples of 6 to find my compatible numbers. Okay. So like we said before, 6 divided by 54, that's going to be 9. And then I have 2 zeros, 900. So the quotient is going to be between, and again, I excuse my handwriting on this with this electronic pen, between 900 and, let's find out what the low estimate will be. Well, like we mentioned before, 6 goes into 48 8 times, and the 2 zeros that we ignored, 2 zeros here, so between 900 and 800. Okay, moving on to number 11, we look at there's a 17 in front, a 1 and a 7, so I count by 6's, 6, 12, 18. Okay, so 18 is more than 17, so that's going to be my high estimate. And I add my 2 zeros for the 65. And my low estimate, when we were counting by 6, 6, 12 was the low estimate. Okay, so we do the same thing. Now we divide these both by 6 to get our 2. Remember, 2 estimates that the quotient is between. So here 6 goes into 18 3 times, so I'm going to add my between, 3 and then 2 zeros, so 300, and 6 goes into 12 twice. I have 2 zeros left over, so my 2 zeros. So between 300 and 200. Okay. So you're starting to get the idea. Go ahead and try 12 and 13 on your own, and then follow the next set of instructions, which would be to take your lesson quiz. Thank you. Focus. Attitude. Initiative. Listen carefully.